look at alternatives in relation to attacking options. There's plenty of news to talk about tonight, guys. Plenty to get into. Obviously, as we know, since the Brighton game, Manchester United have been very busy in relation to approaches to players and been linked with players. But again, we haven't been busy at all in relation to signing players. So we've plenty to get into tonight. Manchester United have been linked with basically everybody in the last 4 days, obviously since the Brighton game. And you can see basically that it is I suppose, a reaction to the result that we had on the weekend. I think it's pretty clear that United do need, I suppose, additions to the squad going forward. And I think Ten Hag is demanding them, really. Plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about, obviously, Cody Gakpo, who Manchester United have been linked with. Obviously, he is a winger. You would say a winger because that's primarily where he plays. He can play as a centre forward as well. He's coming from PSV. Now, links there, obviously. A bit of, maybe not a stumbling block, but maybe a delay in relation to it. So we'll get into him. We'll also get into, what else have we got to talk about here today? We're going to talk, obviously, about Rabiot and his links with Manchester United. It looks like a deal for that is basically getting closer. I think it will get done eventually. We're also going to talk about De Jong. There's been some updates in relation to De Jong. Now, nothing major, but again, would it be a transfer talk show this summer without talking about De Jong? So definitely we're going to get into him. There's been links as well with right backs, so we're going to talk about potential right backs. We've been linked with the Celtic right back Uranovich, I think is how you pronounce it. Also other options there. It looks like Manchester United have been linked again with Max Aarons of Norwich, so we're going to get into that as well. And of course, the big news coming out of Manchester United, well, not Manchester United specifically, but in relation to ongoing transfer talks and basic Manchester United news is this takeover and the fact that I suppose the person that we're talking about here in relation to, I suppose, leading this so-called takeover is Michael Knighton, and basically there's a consortium behind him. We're going to get into that. I'm a bit dubious about it, but look, plenty to talk about. And of course, then any questions, any comments you have, make sure you get them into the chat. We'll have a good conversation. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. Plenty to talk about. And look, we'll try and keep it as positive as possible. Let's see who's in. Mickey is in. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. I won a silver medal for the football at the Special Olympic Ireland Games in 2018 up in Dublin. Happy days. Well done on that, Mickey. We have Sharma is in. Adam is in. Mark is in. Great to see everyone in. Please smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't already done so. Helps out the channel an awful lot. Anyone watching on TikTok, tap the screen, gets us out to more people. And anyone watching on YouTube, please take a second, hit the thumbs up button for me. Really helps out the channel a ton. So let's get into it. Anybody watching on TikTok as well, by the way, if you do want the full experience, you can go over to our YouTube channel. The link is on my homepage. We have some snippets and some cutouts there of reports that will be shown on the screen. Obviously, we can't do that on TikTok. So if you want the full experience, head over to YouTube. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Cody Gakpo. I find it hard not to put an R into his name for some reason. Gakpo, but Gakpo, PSV. And let me get up the stats here. Now, obviously, look, he is a winger for PSV, and his stats are pretty good, I have to say. And according to numerous reports, he is an up and coming, I suppose, prospect. Now, we're talking prospect here. I mean, the chap is 23 years of age, so he is a good age, and he'd be the right age in terms of getting a player in our forward line, which we do absolutely need. My one worry, and again for anyone who's watching on YouTube can see in relation to the stats that we put on the screen. He's 23 years of age, obviously from the Netherlands, a left winger, right-footed left winger, which again, I mean, how many more right-footed left wingers do we actually need? So that is a concern that I would be looking at. Now, that's been, hyper, I suppose, cautious in relation to who we're getting. I think any signings we can get, especially a signing like his, who, now look, I'm not going to lie, I don't know an awful lot about him. I have done a bit of research in relation to him since he's been linked with Manchester United. But, I mean, this again obviously seems to be a player that Ten Hag knows, and I think that goes to show the trust that Ten Hag basically has in Manchester United's scouting system. You know, any player we've already signed has been a player that Ten Hag knows personally. You know, he knows Malacia, obviously, from the Eredivisie. He knows Martinez because, obviously, he worked with him at Ajax. And he knows Eriksen because Eriksen trained with him while he was recovering last year with Ajax. So, you know, I think that goes to show exactly what Erik Ten Hag is looking to do here. He's looking to get in players that he knows and trusts. But in relation to the player himself, I mean, his stats are not overly bad in relation to how he got on last year with Ajax, or sorry, with PSV. And I'm just pulling up the stats here myself. So, like, in relation to the goals he scored, I mean, he played 27 games last season in the Eredivisie, 12 goals and 13 assists. So it's, I mean, I know it's the Eredivisie, and, you know, if you are going to be stepping up into the Premier League, it's obviously a higher step up. But, you know, stats like that, regardless of where you're playing, absolutely are decent stats. He played 46 games in total with 21 goals and 15 assists. So they're not bad stats. They're really not. And according to a lot of reports coming out in the last couple of days, you know, people are tipping him to be, you know, a future star in the next couple of years. So I think, you know, we would be getting him at the right time. We'll be getting him at the right age. I certainly do think we need reinforcements in our forward line. We're very, very, very light. So I certainly do think he'd be a good signing. I really do. I hope we can get him eventually over the line. Who knows? But let's see what happens in the coming days. The one, I suppose, stumbling block we do have in relation to this player is the fact that he's playing for PSV and they beat Monaco last night in the Champions League qualifiers. So they're now going into the final round of qualifiers to get into the Champions League proper, and they're playing against Rangers. Now, the first leg of that is next week and the second leg will be the week after. And PSV have basically come out and said, look, if an offer comes in for him that we can't refuse, obviously we will not stand in his way of leaving. However, they will not accommodate him leaving before these fixtures are fulfilled. And obviously they're trying to get into the Champions League. It's going to be worth, I think, anywhere between 40 and 50 million for PSV if they do get into the Champions League first round proper, into the group stages. So it's going to be at least 2 weeks before a deal can be done for this player. But I certainly do think, you know, obviously over the last few days we've heard, you know, the likes of Uranovich and these kind of players, especially the likes of Uranovich, 33 years of age, 34 this season. We seem to, you know, very quickly get away from the kind of player we were going for, the right player, as Erik Ten Hag said. Young, hungry, maybe first or second contract, looking to make a name for himself. So I certainly think he fits that bracket and he fits that profile. But let's see over the coming days and weeks how we get on with it. But I certainly do think we need to improve our forward line, you know. Rashford and Sancho were very poor against Brighton on the weekend. Martial is injured. Ronaldo doesn't want to be there. So we do need reinforcements. We really do. Let's see what people are saying here. Good to see so many people in. Sharma is in, says hi. Adam is in. Evening, Adam. Good to see you. Gakpo is going to be a class signing, says Adam. I certainly do think so, Adam. Absolutely. Gakpo versus Rashford, says Mark. Absolutely, Mark. And I think the more competition we can have, you would hope that would potentially put a you know, a boot in Marcus Rashford's arse to say, right, let's time to get a finger out here now and get into this team properly. You know, put the performances in to sew up that position. You know, so absolutely. Who's better, says Mark? Look, Rashford on his day at the moment, I would go with Rashford. But if you're taking Rashford's form over the last 12 months versus this guy, I mean, you know, just looking at the stats. Now, I know stats can be very if you know what I mean. They can be very one-dimensional. You know, Gakpo has got these figures and these numbers in the Eredivisie. I'm sure if Marcus Rashford was playing in the Eredivisie, his statistics would be higher as well. So we do have to take that into consideration. But I do think it's going to be good, I suppose, good competition there. Adam says Gakpo is better than Rashford at the moment in time. I think he will storm the Premier League. Box is in and says, I just heard that any deal for Gakpo is dependent on us selling players first, like Bailly, Jones, Twanzebe and Wan-Bissaka. I don't know how much I would believe into that, Box, because, all of them players that you mentioned are not really in that position. I don't think there's a shortage of money there, given the fact that we've barely spent that throughout the summer already. So I wouldn't be worrying about having to offload players before we can get players in. There's plenty of money there, I do think. Rabiot 15 million can be done without selling. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into that as well. Mark says, I think he's not better than Rashford. Adam says, Rashford is lacking so much. He's absolute sitters against Brighton. I would like to sell Rashford, a bit of money for him. Robbie is in and says, the sick thing is Rashford will be fine the minute he moves to a new club. Yeah, and that's the worry, absolutely. Partly Pooper says, listen to the podcast this morning. It was a very good listen. I'll be keeping up with it. Absolutely. And as well, just to mention to you guys, anyone who hasn't already, do check out our podcast. We had our first episode live on Monday. Again, for anyone watching on YouTube, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. You'll be able to find our podcast there. And anyone watching on TikTok, again, the link is on the homepage there as well. If you are listening and you have listened, please give us a 5-star review. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on all platforms. Please do give us a 5-star review and follow as well. Let's see what people are saying here on TikTok. Great to see so many people in. Let's see what people are saying here. Here he says, he said today that he's staying if PSV qualify for the Champions League. Look, that'll remain to be seen. I mean, and it's certainly, I think he's certainly covering all bases, given the fact that he's obviously still a PSG player. But I think if Manchester United do come calling and offer him a wage packet, I don't think he'll turn it down. I don't think so. And I think United would be pretty clear on that now, given how stressed they are in the transfer market and how much they want to get players over the line. I think if that was the case, they would instantly just wipe the floor with it and just move on to the next person. But look, let's see what happens. Andy says, do you think we are looking at older attackers to find Nkunku deal next season? Look, regardless of what happens next season, and again, there's been a lot of, I've read reports and I've been looking at certain things that United are basically going to not go in for the likes of a centre midfielder because the likes of Bellingham and Rice will be available next summer. I think that's nonsense. We've already wasted one season. We basically wrote off last season by putting an interim manager in charge, and I don't think we can afford to do that again. So I think if there's players there that fit the profile that we look for and that we need and that are good enough, then I think we should go for them regardless. Anthony says the team is rotten to the core. It's sad to watch. The United spirit is gone. Well, that's certainly true, and I think that's Ten Hag's biggest job on at the moment, is to change that mentality within the dressing room. And I don't think we will do that until we see a majority overhaul in that squad. I think it's going to take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players to come into Manchester United with the right mentality for this kind of soft backstabbing mentality to disappear out of the dressing room, because majority rules. That's usually the case within dressing rooms, Ken says we need to stop talking about improving. Our goal should be to stop the decline. Well, I agree with you there, Ken, but again, stopping the decline, a quick fire way of doing that is to make some good positive signings with the right mentality and the right attitude. But I totally understand what you're saying there. I do. I think it can be done a lot quicker by getting new players in than trying to remold current players that are there, if that makes sense, Let's see. Twigs is in and says, I was thinking at that before of the season, we should give Rashford a chance. To me, one game says he's piss useless. Get him gone. Well, look, I wouldn't say get him gone at the moment. I'm going to give him the season, but I have been thinking an awful lot about this, and the scenario around Ten Hag and the team he picked last Sunday, I basically think he said to players, look, you have one chance now. I'm going to give you all the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to play the majority of the players that played last season in the first game of this season. You have the first game of the season to prove to me that you want to be in this team and that you want to work hard for this team and club. And I think the majority of them just pissed all over that, really. I really do. So look, I'm doing a match preview video that I'm going to upload on YouTube maybe on Friday. It won't be a live, it'll just be a video. But I certainly do think there has to be wholesale changes to the starting 11 for this Saturday's game against Brentford. There has to be. There really has to be. Box says, in an ideal world, we should be working on next summer's transfers right now. We have to be prepared. We are actually last place in getting things done. And I agree with you there, Box, 100%. And you look at, say, what City done with Haaland. They had an agreement in place with Haaland since April. You do not have to wait for the transfer window to open to start negotiating with teams and clubs and players. So I absolutely do agree with you there 100%. Party Pooper says, I just fear it's going to be a long time before United are back fighting for titles. Other teams around us are getting stronger, and it's like United isn't an attractive club for star players anymore. I do take your point, Party, absolutely, I do, and I understand what you're saying, but I do have to harp back to what maybe Ranić said in his interview when he said that we need 8, 9, 10 players potentially. He came out and said that it doesn't necessarily have to take 3, 4, 5 years for this to happen. If over the space of 12 months from one transfer window in the summer to the end of the next summer in the transfer window, you can overhaul a squad by getting 6, 7 signings in each summer, then, it doesn't have to take as long. It really doesn't. But again, them players have to be the right kind of players. Box says, we need to phase out the majority of Louis van Gaal, Jose, Ole, Core. It's a damaged setup with bad habits. We need a clean sweep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you there. But anyway, let's move on. And we're going to move on to all of our favourite topic this summer, and that's Frankie de Jong. Now, in relation to Frankie de Jong, there has been slight updates, I would say, in relation to what we've been looking at. And I suppose the reports coming out in the Telegraph have suggested that Manchester United other midfield targets apart from Rabiot is still Frankie de Jong. They haven't given up on signing him yet despite all of the signs. Only after giving up on that they would look at someone else such as Milinkovic-Savic. Now, we were linked with Milinkovic-Savic in the last few days, and people were saying, is this going to be a signing on top of de Jong and Rabiot? And I kind of I kind of copped it basically straight away. Irish lad, thanks for the gift, I appreciate it. I kind of copped it straight away, really, that I don't think just because we're going for 2 other central midfielders that de Jong is off the cards. I certainly don't think so. Killashak, thanks for the gift as well. So, look, I think de Jong is still the number 1 target, and I think this is down to Ten Hag and how much he really does want him. And I think that, getting someone like Rabiot, and we're going to get into Rabiot shortly, that's basically done and dusted. But I think Rabiot and de Jong, I think de Jong and Milinkovic-Savic would be more similar players than the likes of de Jong and Rabiot. So I certainly do think that de Jong is still on the cards, absolutely. And, what was the Van der Kraan said to Sky Sports today that basically Manchester United have an agreement with Ten Hag's representatives in terms of a wage package, in terms of a signing on fee and all of that kind of jazz. This again, and it goes back to what I said, and I said this, it must be 6 weeks ago now, that Manchester United, Am12597, thanks for the gift. I basically said this 6 weeks ago that, people were saying de Jong doesn't want to sign, he doesn't want to sign. I think he does want to sign, and I just think that he's standing his ground with Barcelona, and he is dead right to stand his ground over this 17 million in terms of deferred wages. I saw a video clip today that he turned up to training with Barcelona, and there was Barcelona fans verbally abusing him as he was driving into training. And you telling me he wants to stay at Barcelona? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I still think Manchester United are in the driving seat to sign him. And, I do think that if he can sort out this wage packet. Kilishak, again, thanks for the gift. I think if he can sort out his wage packet with Barcelona, the deal is going to be on. But again, this deadline of Saturday is coming fast for Barcelona. They have to have their players registered with La Liga before the end of, I think it's before Sunday morning, or maybe it's Saturday morning. So Saturday is the deadline, the 13th. And I would be very surprised if we don't hear a big update on it, basically before then. I really don't. So, and again, look, all of the reports, like I'm showing on the screen here on YouTube, that, Frankie, United have not given up on him. Only after giving up on United, only after giving up would United move for someone like Milinkovic-Savic. So, look, Frankie de Jong is not off the cards. His representatives have been in Barcelona today to meet with Barcelona over, certain reports have suggested, an exit strategy and this 17 million. So, look, I think things are moving, and I think over the next few days we will find out a lot more about it. Absolutely. Let's see what you're saying here. Box says, I heard Kessie and Christensen may be allowed to be free agents if Barca cannot fulfill registration, says Box. Yeah, absolutely. And Memphis Depay is another one of them, and he's actually agreed to terminate his contract with Barcelona only if, now he's been linked with Juventus and Juventus are in for him, but he's only going to terminate his contract with Barcelona if his wage demands are met with Juventus. So, I don't know how Barcelona are getting away with this. I really don't. I mean, they're an absolute shower of frauds. They really are. They're basically after cooking the books, and La Liga have caught them with the hand in the cookie jar. They set up an intermediary company and put 150 million in it towards going towards revenue and things like that. And the Liga pretty much copped it and said, hey, whoa, you owe us tax on that, and now you owe us 26% on top as well. So it came to something like, I think, was it 57 million or something like that they owe him. So that was the major issue there, Alan says, is he not going to Chelsea? Well, the thing about that, Alan, is Chelsea haven't even put in a bid for him yet. They really haven't. And this deadline on Saturday is closing in fast. So if Chelsea are going to move for him, they're going to have to move very quick. Now, look, it still may happen. Who knows? But they're going to have to get an offer in for him. They're going to have to get a package set up. They're going to have to offer him wages. They're going to have to do all of this kind of stuff. For Manchester United already have an agreement with Barcelona for a fee. And according to reports today, they basically have a wage structure and package set up for him as well. So look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It really is. I still think that we're going to get him. I've maintained that throughout the whole transfer window, as long as it's been dragging on. I do still think we're I suppose, in the driver's seat for him. Let's see what people are saying here. Please smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't already done so. Anyone watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button for us and hit subscribe as well. And anyone watching on TikTok, please tap the screen for us. Let's try and get to 10,000 likes. We're nearly at 5,000 already. Helps the channel out a ton. I really appreciate it. Alan says, Milinkovic-Savic wouldn't be the ideal Frankie plan B. His frame makes people believe he's a CDM. Well, look, I agree with you. And Alan, I don't think Frankie de Jong is a CDM either. That's the thing. And I don't know if Ten Hag is overly pushed on actually getting a CDM. Rabiot is not really a CDM. He's more of a CDM than the other two, I think. De Jong is more of he's a deep-lying playmaker more than a central defensive midfielder, if that makes sense, But I certainly understand what you're saying there, absolutely. Let's see what other people are saying here. Gunny says, I think we're going to get Frankie de Jong. And Ads says, it's only one game. Everyone needs to calm down and carry on. Well, look, I agree with you there, Ads. And I said that during the watch-along on Sunday, that, look, let's not get too carried away yet. Let's not. Look, the one worry about it is that all of the frailties that we've seen with Manchester United and this current squad last season all reared their ugly head again on Sunday, and it didn't take long. As soon as Manchester United came under any bit of pressure, the confidence in the team instantly evaporated, and it just hit the reset button and went back to their old ways of last season, which is a worry. And I think that's why Ten Hag needs to be strong now, and he needs to start. He needs to... I don't want to give away too much because I'm doing my build-up, my match preview video. I've been recording a bit of it today. But he needs to change. He needs to change multiple positions in defence, multiple positions in midfield, and multiple positions in the forward line. Now, this is just my opinion, but I certainly take your point there. We do not want to get carried away. Obviously, we're still going to back the manager, and this manager is going to get the backing of me. For at least, at the very least, he's going to get the backing of me for 2 seasons, unless he starts playing fucking Phil Jones or someone like that. You know what I mean? But yeah. We, as a fan base, we do need to be patient, and we just need to back the manager and the players. Party Booper says, will Martial be back for the weekend? I actually haven't heard, to be honest. And Ten Hag said it in his interview before the game on Sunday. He was asked how long Martial will be out for, and he said with hamstring injuries like that, we just don't know. It could be a week, it could be 6 weeks. We just don't know at the moment. So I think we'll obviously know closer to Saturday. We'll probably find out maybe tomorrow or Friday. I do hope he's back, I have to say. But I have a feeling the likes of Ronaldo, could potentially get the nod to start. Ashwin says, imagine Frankie and Kessie in our midfield too. Is it possible? Well, look, I think Frankie is certainly possible. I don't know about Kessie, real. Now, obviously, we've been linked with everyone throughout the window, but I don't know how real a link with him would be. Absolutely, I would take it in a heartbeat, 100%. But I certainly do think that we need to be realistic as well, in relation to the amount of players we can sign. Vincent is in from South Africa. Good to see you, Vincent. Now, so let's move on. So again, now we're going to talk about Rabiot. While we're on central midfield, let's talk about Rabiot. Now, look, it looks like a deal is basically done for Rabiot. Now, last night, Monaco were playing PSV in the Champions League qualifiers, and it was pretty well known that they were holding on until the result of that game because Monaco are interested in Rabiot, and if they did qualify for the Champions League, he would prefer to sign for them ahead of Manchester United. And again, it goes back to what I said a few days ago, that he came out and said he wouldn't mind giving up Champions League football and coming to Manchester United because of its stature. The stature of the club. But a report basically a half an hour later came out and said he's unwilling to lower his wages of 8 million a year. So if you put 2 and 2 together there, it's basically saying Rabiot wants to play Champions League football, but if he can't get it with Monaco, he's going to come to Manchester United for the money. So that's automatically annoying me, and I think we're signing him instantly for the wrong reasons, But it does say today that, and this is coming from Fabrizio, that United want Rabiot, and they've had an agreement in place with Juventus for 17 million plus add-ons. Okay, so look, in terms of Rabiot and the type of player he is, let's not beat around the bush here. He is a good player. He is a good player. Absolutely, he's a good player, and he's better than what we have in that midfield at the moment. The worry I have is the baggage he brings with him. There's been countless reports of him falling out with managers, having a bad attitude, not putting the work in training. His mother, who's also his agent, is basically the female version of Mina Raiola, the agent. She's mental, and she's away with the fairies, really. So again, you're flipping a coin here and you're balancing the scales. You're saying, okay, he is good, but does his talent outweigh the baggage that he brings with him? I'm not too sure. I'm really not. I mean, we're basically swapping Paul Pogba for Rabiot here. Paul Pogba had a lot of baggage with him and at times could be world class, but consistently he wasn't good enough, and then we had the baggage on top. So if Rabiot can come in and he can hit the ground running and he can put in some good performances, okay, you would accept a bit of baggage that comes with him, but he's going to have to hit the ground running, and it's a flip of a coin whether that works out or not. It really is. So let's see what happens. I mean, I have the let me put up the clip on YouTube here as well, and it says Adrien Rabiot is demanding wages of over 10 million a year on a 3-year contract to join. Now, that in itself is way too much for me. If you had said to me, okay, you have a chance to sign Rabiot, okay, I say, right, well, give him a 2-year deal with the option of a third, which United basically do with all of their contracts, and give him 100 grand a week. because, I mean, when Juventus saw United coming, they accepted our very first bid for him. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll take it." Yeah, they were basically going to let him go for nothing, So maybe United could potentially get caught with their pants down here, but again, time will only tell on it. But look, again, in terms of talent, he's certainly better than McTominay and Fred, absolutely. So it's an area that we need to improve. So we need to take chances like this. Now look, I don't want this to be a comparison, but if you go back to 1992, Manchester United bought Eric Cantona, who at the time was the biggest rebel in world football. He fell out with the French manager and basically told him to go fuck himself, and was kicked out of the French team. He fell out with the Leeds United manager at the time after 6 months of being at the club. He only spent a year at Leeds. So when he came to Manchester United, the things that Ferguson was being asked in his first interview about him was, do you think you'll be able to control this player when no other manager did? And we saw what happened with Cantona over the the following 5 or 6 seasons. So now look, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Rabiot, but sometimes you might just have to, and the position that Manchester United are in now, we're in a similar position to United were back in the early 90s before we won the league. Maybe we do need to take a chance on these kind of players, and if we do take a chance on them and it works out, maybe that'll be the stepping stone we need, to get back into the top 4, to get into the Champions League, and then next year we can look at getting, going all out for a Declan Rice or going all out for a Jude Bellingham or whatever, because we can still sell Rabiot then or whoever, So that's the way I look at things. It's all a stepping stone in relation to Manchester United. And you look at Liverpool under Klopp or Man City since they've been taken over by the Arabs. It's basically a stepping stone for them as well. Man City didn't, they weren't taken over and instantly started a challenge. If you remember, Mark Hughes was the manager and they bought, was it Robinho? And that was kind of the first little stepping stone. Then he said, okay, all right, okay, well, he's going there for certain money, right? Maybe I'll go there as well. And it's a slow build. And you see with Klopp under, with Liverpool, he goes out and he signs the likes of Andy Robertson for 7 million from Hull, and a massive, massive gamble. But it turned out to be the right one. And you need a bit of luck when it comes to transfers like that as well. And I think that's just the situation that Manchester United are in at the moment. We need that player, whoever it may be. If it's Rabiot, if it's De Jong, if it's Milinkovic-Savic, if it's, Gakpo, if it's Anthony, whoever it may be, just to get us to that next level. And it may take 2 or 3 of them players to get us to that next level. Then okay. And if it's a short-term thing to get us back into the Champions League, where we can then go out and scout Tier 1 players, and get them into the club and kick on and really build a foundation of good, strong players with good mentalities, then that's the way it has to be done. It really does. Let's see what you're saying here. Alan says, what do you make of the 3 subs on 90 minutes? Alan, I wasn't overly impressed with it, I have to say. I thought, now look, I do understand that them players were standing on the touchline for 4 or 5 minutes because the ball didn't go out with play or something like that. But yeah, it would probably be the biggest criticism I'd have of Ten Hag in relation to Sunday's game, that they were basically coming on and didn't have the time to have the impact on the game that they should have had, so that would be a bit of a criticism that I would have, absolutely. Party Pooper says, I saw some training photos and didn't see him, but hopefully he's back soon. That's in relation to Martial. Dean is in from Kilkenny. Good to see you, man. Good Kilkenny man like myself. Cottle is in and says, why are we panic buying? Look, I think we went through maybe a 24 or 48 hour phase of panic buying, but it looks like we're gotten back to the likes of this Gakpo, young, hungry player. Rabiot is 27, so you'd be expecting him to be in his prime. De Jong is still on. If Milinkovic-Savic is coming, he is 27 as well, so he's in his prime. He's the only central midfielder in all the 5 top European leagues to get double figures in both goals and assists last year. I know it's the Serie A, but again, he's not a bad player. He's not a bad player, you have to say. And I think the fact that we've been linked with him so much over the last 5 or 6 years is basically taking a bit of the gloss off the fact that if we do get him, he would be a very good signing. He would be. Owen says, hi there, is Rabiot our only option for CDM at the moment? Yeah, we just done that one. So I think there is more options on, absolutely, but it's just going to it's going to take time to find out what they are, and who we actually get. Kyle says, did you see what I posted in Discord earlier? Michael Knighton is preparing to take over from the Glazers. Yeah, I'm going to get into that, Kyle. I have it in my notes here. Ashwin says, will Ronaldo start against Brentford or false 9 again? I think it has to be Ronaldo, Ashwin. I really do. And I think Ten Hag accommodated last season's players on a one-off to say, right, you have a chance with me, here's your chance, go and do it, and they didn't do it. So I think I would expect big changes, and I hope there is big changes. Alan says, we need players that will get stuck in to do the hard work. They give young lads 90 grand a week. They don't care about United, all about the money. I agree, Alan, absolutely. But I do think a lot of the youngsters that are at Manchester United now are coming to a crossroads. You take James Garner, for example. James Garner is 22 years of age, and if he doesn't get game time this season, he's going to say to himself, hold on now, I'm 22 years of age. I've been on loan a couple of times. I've proved myself out on loan. Why am I not starting in this piss poor midfield? He's going to start asking questions and go, well, maybe do I need to leave as well? So it's going to be interesting. Let's see what Tik Tok is saying. Keep smashing the like button for us as well, guys, if you haven't already done so. Anyone on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up and make sure to subscribe as well. Cobra says, why isn't anybody talking of a new right back? Dalot isn't good enough. Yeah, and look, that brings me in nicely into the right back situation, which I do want to talk about here as well. So we have been linked with Celtic's right back. Now, correct me if I'm not pronouncing this right. Uranovich, Josip Juranovic. So right back for Celtic, looking in around the region of £15 million. And look, I've seen him play a couple of times, obviously, because I've watched a few Celtic games and things like that. And he's a decent right back. He is a decent right back. Is he better than Dalot? I'm not 100% sure, to be quite honest with you. I'm really not. Is he better than Wan-Bissaka? Probably. Maybe his one-on-one defending, I don't think anyone's one-on-one defending is better than Wan-Bissaka. But obviously Wan-Bissaka's, attacking play is abysmal. So look, again, it will come down, and I will say what I've always said in relation to signings. If the manager wants him and he's the player that the manager is looking for, then okay, I'll get behind it. Again, I said it 2 or 3 minutes ago. Liverpool went out and signed Andy Robertson for 7 million. Who's to say this player can't be a player like him? Now obviously Andy Robertson is top of the tree in relation to left backs, but you do need to be going in for these type of players. These young, hungry players who want to make a name for themselves, who are saying, yeah, look, I'll do a job for you. I'll absolutely do a job for you. So, I mean, look, let's see what happens in relation to it. I mean, I do think that he would give good competition to Dalot. I don't think right away he's going to be, ripping up trees or anything like that. But again, it goes back to what we said. Competition is very important when it comes to mentality within the squad and building, I suppose, a bit of drive, a bit of hunger from players. Because once you get a bit of competition within a squad, you quickly find and pinpoint the players who are not up for the fight. And Luke Shaw, case in point, has basically got a free run at left back now for the last 8 years, basically, And he's had maybe 2 good spells. He's had 1 good spell under Van Gaal before he broke his leg, and he had 1 good spell under Solskjaer. And other than that, I think he's been piss poor, average at best. So, he's now getting some competition in there, proper competition with the likes of Malacia. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with him. But in relation to the right back situation, again, there has been reports that come out today that Manchester United could again go back in and look at Max Aarons of Norwich as a potential right back option as well. And again, look, we've covered Max Aarons on previous videos before, countless videos. You know, we were linked with him early in the transfer window as well, and we were linked with him last year. I certainly do think he's a good player. I do, and you know, it goes back to, is he the player to, you know, to go in there and grab the right full position by the scruff of the neck and saying, this is mine and no one is going to get it off me. I don't know. You know, I don't know. But the one thing that's been annoying me, and this is the point that I've been trying to get to, over the last few days, we've been looking at signings. We've been looking at, you know, Gakpo. We've been looking at Max Aarons. There's been talks of, obviously, we say they're the Celtic right back. You know, we've been looking at Rabiot now for 17 million. Milinkovic-Savic is coming in. You know, looking at him. But basically what we're looking at, and this is what's annoying me more than anything else, is the fact that we're going for these cheaper options. You know, we're going for these cheaper options. And that in itself is what's worrying me. Let's stay on the right back situation. If you go and look at right back options, Denzel Dumfries from Inter Milan is the fucking number one option there. He's the number one option. He's the best option in relation to talent, in relation to quality, and the type of player you would like to bring into a Manchester United team. But he's triple the price of these other two right backs that we've been talking about. So I just hope, and I worry, and I hope that this isn't what we're doing, and we're looking for cheap options just because, you know, oh shit, we need 5 or 6 more players, and it's evident after the Brighton game we need to go for cheaper players now because we need to get quantity in more so than quality, you know, and that's my worry there. But time will tell, won't it? Time will tell. Let's see what you're saying here. Cottle says, I won't be surprised if we end up with just Rabiot and Gakpo. Gakpo is not a bad signing though. No, he's not, Cottle, absolutely. Bringing a player from the Scottish League is a risk. Well, look, it is a risk, but look, bringing any player in is a risk, Cottle, and I know what you're saying, absolutely. Any player coming in is certainly a risk, but, you know, it's about, you know, finding the right players, you know, identifying their qualities, their strengths, their mentality, and say, okay, yep, he ticks all the boxes, regardless of his price. You know, and I think, and I go back to it, and I've said it on multiple occasions, I think this is where us letting Rangnick go was a massive, massive, massive mistake, because Rangnick is renowned for finding diamonds in the rough. Absolutely renowned for it. And he said, you know, you don't have to go out and sign 30, 40, 50 million pound players. You know, you can find very good players that are on a first contract, that are young and hungry, and bring them in and develop them, you know. And that was his whole football model in the clubs that he was with, especially with the RB groups and RB clubs, is to bring players in, young hungry players, diamonds in the rough, develop them and sell them on at a massive profit. That's what their whole football model was, and how their clubs survive. Now, if you're being Manchester United, and you keep Rangnick, you're bringing in them diamonds in the rough, you're developing them, but then you don't sell them, and you keep them for 10 years, and then you have a squad full of quality players that are built into the, you know, the foundation of the club and the team, you know, and I think that was a massive mistake on Manchester United's behalf. Alan says, did you see that the little P said he would play for free? I did. So anyone who didn't see that, Javier Hernandez was being interviewed for an LA Galaxy game, and he was asked about Manchester United and things like that, and he was basically asked, you know, would you go back to Manchester United? He said, I would play for Manchester United for free, you know, and that just goes to show the difference in mentality, you know. We have, and this is where I worry with the likes of Rabiot. We're getting a lad that wants to come in because of the stature of the club, but yeah, he's unwilling to lower his £10 million wages for the year, and he wanted to play Champions League with Monaco, but now that they're not in it, he's happy to come to United for the money, you know, and it's just a different mentality, you know, and that's what worries me going forward. What's happening with the pie? Are we still interested, says Cottle? Well, Cottle, it looks like he's going to Juventus. Juventus are in for him, and he's agreed with Barcelona to terminate his contract as long as his wages or demands are met with Juventus. So it looks like he's going there. Let's see what people are saying on TikTok here. Please smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't already done so. Hit the thumbs up button on YouTube and hit subscribe. Really, really helps out the channel a ton. I'd appreciate it a lot. And anyone watching on TikTok, keep tapping that screen for me. Hit the follow button as well. Hit the bell notification at the top so you'll know when we go live and when we put up a new video as well. Daily content coming up. Let's see. Ali says, get rid of Shaw, Maguire, Tominay and Fred. Yeah, I agree with you on that, absolutely. Fanny says, if you love Man United, stay for Man United legend, shut your mouth. Okay, I don't know if that's aimed towards me or not, but Dean says, I'd keep Aha and Fred. Okay. Let's see what other people are saying here. Bum, bum, bum. Stevie says, the spine of the team is down the middle. We have Slabhead, Maguire and McFred. No spine at all. I agree. I absolutely agree. And I've always said it down through the years that, you know, even to local football, you know, and you know, the level that I've played, but just locally, having a solid spine up the middle is vitally important. You know, if you can have a good centre-back pairing, a good centre midfield, and maybe that one lad up front that's, you know, that can get you goals, the rest will just eventually fill itself in. You know, it really will. Des says, an empty stadium against Liverpool won't change anything. City have an empty stadium every game. Different reasons, though, for different reasons. Nothing will happen at United till Glazers are gone, and we will not succeed any further with McFred, says Jamie. Jamie, I agree with you. I absolutely agree on every point you said there. Cobra says, in my view, I think James Garner will be a better option compared to McTominay and Fred combined. I agree, absolutely. And I think, you know, why not put in James Garner, Donny van de Beek and Christian Eriksen on Saturday? You know, why not? You know, we've got nothing to lose. You know, there's been a shitstorm all week because of the players that played on Sunday. So why not change it, you know? And I hope Ten Hag is strong enough I think he is strong enough to do it. And I'm sure if he doesn't make all of them changes, he'll have good reason. But look, I'm behind the manager 100%. Respect you are the best. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it, Isabel. Thanks a lot, Isabella. Callum says, should we just give De Jong half of his old wages and get him here? Well, it says Callum. Well, according to reports, Callum, United are now willing to pay his 17 million. But see, the reason why this has been dragging on with Barcelona is that Barcelona wanted an agreement in place for De Jong. To the 17 million that he's owed would be to trickle that into his current salary, and he didn't want that. He wanted it up front, basically. Which he's well within his rights to do, you know. So I think Manchester United are probably going to come in and say, look, knock the 17 million off of the transfer fee to Barcelona. We'll give it to you. No, we'll pay him. We'll give him the 17 million and just, you know, let's get the deal done and dusted. I reckon that's what will happen eventually. Absolutely. Mono John says, how would an empty stadium help when the tickets are already paid for and still money for Glazers? John, I've said that on countless occasions last season when there was a couple of walkout protests and things like that, you know, walking out of Old Trafford is not going to do anything to the Glazers. You already have the money given to them in their back pockets. It does not matter if you walk out. The only way of doing it is to not buy the tickets in the first place. And I'll hold my hand up and say, I'm going to Old Trafford this year. I am. I'm going to 2 of the Europa League games this year. I'm going with a friend of mine for one, and I'm going with my dad for another one, because my dad hasn't been there in over 20 years. So I'm going to be there. And so you can call me a hypocrite. Maybe I am. But I love Manchester United, and I love supporting my team. So it is a catch-22. I don't think shutting out Old Trafford is the way to do it here. I really don't. I think fan organisations, Manchester United fan organisations, are very divided. A lot of them don't get on with other ones because they're competing for being the top, you know, fan-led, you know, protests and things like that. I think they need to come together. I think they need to put all of their heads together. If they are looking to get the Glazers out, emptying Old Trafford is not how to do it. They need to put feelers out there about, you know, potentially getting backers in, getting potential bidders in. that would be much more beneficial, you know, and would probably make the Glazers, you know, it would pique their interest a bit if an offer or a potential offer was to come, you know. Let's see. The last post says, do you think this lad will buy it? Is he not a bit of a spoof? United, that is, says last pod. I'm not sure who you're talking about there, pod. Let us know. Alan says, I think you're right. He gave them one chance. The league starts Saturday, says Alan. Yeah, I think so too, Alan. Absolutely. Gives Zidane a game. Serious talent, says Owen. I agree, Owen. I absolutely agree. I'd love to see him play, and I'd love to see young Garnacho play ahead of Rashford as well, to be honest with you. But look, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, guys. Anyone on TikTok, because I will be putting my match preview out on Friday, and I'll be going through the starting 11 who I think should start. It's not who I think will start. It's who, you know, I would put out. And we'll be getting into other topics then as well about Ten Hag and, you know, looking at stats for the opposition and stuff like that as well. So make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Link is on the homepage up here. But yeah. Let's see. Bill O'Moran says, is he Chelsea Brown today? Another shitstorm for United? I don't think I'd be surprised. Owen said, I paid $1,400 for me and my kids to go in February for Brentford game and bought 6 jerseys for it before this. Yeah, I mean, there you go. There you go. And look, and you know, I've got the new Manchester United jersey, you know. I went out and bought it, you know, because, you know, I've bought every one of them since I was... Well, sorry, I didn't buy him, but I've gotten... My dad bought me every one of them. The first one I had was 94, I think. The one with the laces in the chest. Maybe 93, 94. I'm not 100% sure. And I've had every one since, you know, and I've bought myself then once I was old enough to do so. The last post says Michael Keaton's consortium. Yeah, so let's get into it. So I have I do want to get into this whole consortium and this potential takeover that's happening. So, for anyone who hasn't heard, let me just pull up the... Where is it? There it is. So, Michael Keaton has told BBC Sports that he has a consortium together and that an offer document is being drawn up at the moment. So, for anyone who doesn't know who Michael Knighton is, Michael Knighton tried to buy Manchester United in 1989. I was probably too young myself to... I was too young to remember it, but I remember hearing of it. This was the guy that went out onto Old Trafford before a game and started doing keepy-uppies in a Manchester United kit into the Stretford end, in front of the Stretford end, and scored a goal into the Stretford end before a game. And it was all, you know, it was all set up for him to buy the club, and a couple of weeks passed and there was no, you know, it hadn't happened, and basically, a long story short, it turned out that he didn't have the money for it, you know. So he's been a bit of a parody with Manchester United fans ever since, and he has come out in the last few days and said that he's putting together a consortium of fairly wealthy backers to put a bid in for Manchester United, and it's a hijack bid, I think. Is that what they called it? Michael Keaton, I didn't think Batman was taking over. Sorry, Michael Knighton. I am Batman. Would you like to ride with Batman? But but yeah. So he's been a bit of a parody ever since, and you know, older Manchester United fans will know of him. So he said he's putting a consortium of wealthy, you know, people behind him, and a hostile bid. Sorry, is what, not a hijack bid, a hostile bid. Thanks, Cottle. And so he came out and done a bloody YouTube video. Okay, so he came out and done a random YouTube video. Now, a random YouTube video, I'm not going to say it can't change anything, because look what I'm doing. I'm doing a random YouTube video. You know, now I'm not expecting to change anything, but I mean, okay, I give you my thoughts on it. I think that is full of shit. So I do. I think he's absolutely full of shit. I don't think he has any intention. I don't think he has the backing, really. I think he's coming out, doing this maybe as a PR stunt. It has been suggested today that, and I have it up on the screen on YouTube, that although the club are not taking his plan seriously, Knighton believes that the Glazers will sell if the right deal is put to them. Now that's basically what a hostile bid is. So a hostile bid is a bid that comes in for something when it's not actually for sale. So the Glazers, basically what he's banking on is that the Glazers are not coming out and saying they want to sell, probably because it would knock down the price. Okay, now there's been calls now as well for Jim Radcliffe to come out and buy the club. Obviously Jim Radcliffe tried to buy Chelsea over the summer and he wasn't successful. Jim Radcliffe is a boyhood Manchester United fan, and he's from Manchester. I think he's 71 years of age. He's one of the richest men in Britain, and I think basically what this Michael Knighton is doing, he's trying to maybe flush out a potential suitor that will come in behind and put the money towards doing it. I think how he done it was absolutely stupid, coming out on a random YouTube video and doing it. It just made him look unprofessional and a bit, you know, I just don't think we can take him seriously because of it. I really don't. So, look, in the grand scheme of things, I think this lad is full of shit, but it's starting a conversation. So that's the positive spin that I'm going to take out of this. It's starting a conversation about potential buyers coming in and putting offers in for Manchester United. And let's get this out of our head straight away. There's, you know, a lot of people saying, well, why hasn't anyone offered to buy it? No one wants to buy Manchester United. That's bullshit. Chelsea were up for sale over the summer and there was over 20 consortiums trying to buy the club. Manchester United will have a wide variety of offers if the Glazers are willing to sell. It's time. It's fucking time. I don't know how much more of this I can put up with, if I'm being 100% honest with you. It's so draining as a fan to see the same shit year in, year out, and I'm sure you're all the same. You're all feeling exactly the same. We've been led down this path of absolute utter scutter, and I don't think we're ever going to get back to the dizzy heights that we were at if the Glazers are part of this club and if the Glazers are owners of this club. They're incompetent. They don't give a shit. They don't hire the right people. And I seen some bit of content yesterday in relation to the Glazers, and someone said that they actually own a lot of shopping malls in the US, throughout the whole of the US, and they've owned them for over 20 years, I think. And over the 20-year period, the majority of them, they've let them rot and fall asunder, and a lot of them are closed now. Basically, not reinvesting into them, making them the best mall in the area, and where all vendors want to come in. They basically just sucked every bit of money out of it, got massive rents for vendors that went in. Vendors eventually pulled out and they all just rotted away. Now, does that sound familiar? That is basically what's after happening at Manchester United over the last 17 years since the Glazers took over. They've sucked the life out of Manchester United. They've taken 100 million in dividends in that time frame. They have borrowed 600 million to refinance the club. They loaded that 600 million debt onto the club, and still, as of last week, it was still 600 million that was owed in relation to that debt. They've basically only been paying off the interest. The stock market, they made Manchester United public in 2012, and the 10-year anniversary of that was it yesterday, I think, or the day before, and Manchester United's share price has dropped 24% in that period of time. So I think you'd only have 780 pounds sterling if you invested 1,000. Now look, I'm not a lot worried about that, because share prices can go up and down depending on the economy and things like that. And you see last year when Ronaldo signed, the share price had doubled, so I'm not overly worried about that. Everything I'm saying here is that these parasites and the where is it? Let me just get it now. The Sky Sports reporter, what's her name? There she is. Melissa Reddy. What an absolute hero. She came out, and for anyone who hasn't heard it, go on to TikTok or YouTube or wherever, and you can hear her comments on it. She basically called them parasitic owners, sorry, that they've sucked the life out of the club, and that until something is done to get them out of the club, Manchester United are not going to improve. We're just not, and I think it's pretty clear, and I think Manchester United have been trying to work from the top down rather than the bottom up for the last 10 years and let's not beat around the bush here. Only for Sir Alex Ferguson, we would have been in the shit for a lot longer. He was papering over the cracks there for 5-6 years, the last 5 or 6 years, and the writing was on the cards. It really was. Now, I do think that every Manchester United fan has to get together and do something collectively, because there's enough of these fan-led groups that are fighting it out with one another and that they don't agree with a certain aspect of the other fan group and things like that. And it's just counterproductive. It really is. And I think the only way to get these parasites out of our club is for everyone to come together. I don't think emptying Old Trafford is the way to do it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm going to some games this year. I'm saying that because it has happened in the past and it hasn't worked. So it's time to move on and do something else, really, Alan says Glazers will never sell United. United is a cash cow for them. Irish lad says we need owners that want success on the pitch and not on the commercial side. Success on the pitch brings the rest. Exactly, and that's what I meant to say there. Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked. Instead of working from the top down, work from the bottom up. They think that, if we get sponsorship deals in, and if we sign a player here, that will get sponsorship deals. That'll generate revenue. The number one thing that will generate revenue for any professional football club is results on the pitch. If you get results on the pitch, everything else will fall into place. Everything will fall into place. You see Manchester United, they came along, Sir Alex Ferguson came along and Manchester United started winning exactly the right time. The Premier League inception in 92, 93, Manchester United were just kicking into flow then. Money started flowing into Manchester United because of results on the pitch. Result on the pitch led to trophies, which led to bigger players, which led to more shirt sales, which led to more sponsorship deals, which led to more TV deals, which led to the club growing globally. That's how it's done. It all filters down to results on the pitch. Whereas the Glazers and their incompetency are trying to do it in the opposite direction. Let's try and make ourselves look as glamorous as possible, and we'll filter that all the way down, and hopefully we can have some good results on the pitch then as well to keep this cash cow going for us. And it's just not working. They've tried everything. They've tried the chosen one after Ferguson, David Moyes, got rid of him. The older manager who rebuilt clubs in the past in Van Gaal, passed it. The serial winner in Jose Mourinho, didn't work out. The previous player in Solskjaer didn't work. And now Ten Hag, the up-and-coming coach in Europe, is he going to fall to the wayside? If you're going on the previous 10, 11, 12 years, it looks like he will fall on that sword over the next 2 or 3 years. I really, really hope he doesn't, and I think that's why we need to get these owners out as quickly as possible. Really do. I really do. Let's see what you're saying. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a rant there. Darren says Fergie needed to retire due to his health, but I'd love him to come back. Yeah, look, I'm past all of that as well. As much as I love Ferguson and how great he was for Manchester United, you do need to just move on sometimes, And talks of David Gill being back in around, and giving some advice and stuff. Yeah, just move on. Just move on. We need to get competency of the employees that are currently at the club, rather than bringing in, short-term things and people of the past, Wolfie says, refusing to go to any more games this season. What's the point when they're ruining our club? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Emanu says, results aren't enough at United. Performance is as important. Absolutely, I agree with you there. Christian Eriksen is not lazy. I never said he was. I believe now our players are not up to it. They're simply not good enough, says Darren. Yeah, I agree. Well, the majority of them, I do agree with you there. Stevie says he will if he doesn't get rid of Maguire and McFred. They're not fit to wear the shirt, those three. Yeah, I agree with you there. Phil Jones is the future. He's the future for another team, hopefully. Eamon Dunphy said United were a broken club in decline in 2010 and people laughed at him. Yeah, well, there you go. He hit the nail on the head. Martin says, thoughts on Sancho? Just seems he's lost at the moment. I think Jadon Sancho will come good. I really do. I think he's one of the brighter options and the brighter players at the club. I just think he's probably needs to get a bit of confidence back, but I do think Ten Hag will we'll get that back in him. Give Garner a go on CDM alongside Ericsson, says Darren. Absolutely. Aaron says, so much dead wood, but we can't sell because it will affect the stock value. Well, again, that's what the Glazers are all about. The Glazers just want to keep filling their pockets. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know. It says, love the channel. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Any thoughts on Sir Jim Radcliffe possibly buying United? Well, yeah, we just spoke about Killian. I hope he does. But look, I do think it's a long way off. I mean, if you're looking to buy Manchester United, you're talking probably 4 to 5 billion. Then you're going to have to rebuild the stadium, probably another billion. You're going to have to reinvest into the squad. You're going to have to do the training ground up. So you're looking at probably 6 or 7 billion. Now, what investor is going to come in? I don't say investor. What potential buyer is going to come in that wants to invest 6 to 7 billion into Manchester United over a period of 5 or 6 or 7 years? It has to be someone that is a fan of the club, and Sir Jim Radcliffe is, let's see. Albie says, stop going to games and buying season tickets. You're on about walkouts, don't work. You're right, but don't walk in the first place. Yeah, well, I think I do agree with you there, Albie, but I do think that the revenue from Old Trafford, we're not going to have people not turning up to Old Trafford for the whole season. It's going to be an odd game here. You might get maybe 2 games a season where, you might have 5,000 or 6,000 people that don't show up or don't buy tickets in general. That's not going to affect the Glazers either. There's so many different revenue streams within Manchester United that I don't think it's really going to affect it. I think something else has to be done. What is that? I'm not 100% sure. I'm really not. But that's down to smarter people than me, Are you protesting the owner too? Why not club t-shirt tonight? Says Vincent. Oh no, I don't wear United stuff unless they're playing. So I don't have a United jersey on all the time. Andy UK Nottingham Forest says we're coming back for Jimmy Garner. Well, look, I don't know. I mean, I would rather see him go back to Nottingham Forest and play games on loan if he wasn't going to get game time for Manchester United. So yeah. Please smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't already done so. Really helps out the channel an awful lot. Anyone that's watching on YouTube, if you haven't already done so, please take a second, hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe as well. Anyone watching on TikTok, if you could do me the favour, click on the link on my homepage and go over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe as well. We do all our watch-alongs over there too, with the scoreboard and the timers, and the starting 11 is all there as well. I'm going to be doing my pre-match preview. It's going to be up on Friday afternoon sometime. So make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel as well. And anyone who hasn't already done so, we've started a podcast as well. We had our first podcast on Monday night, myself and a friend of mine. We done it. I'm after getting some very good feedback on it, so I'm really happy with how it went. The link for anyone that's watching on YouTube, if you click on the link, it's pinned to the top of the chat. You can go on there and you'll see the link for the podcast. We're on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. wherever you get them, we're on it. Please give us a 5-star review and follow us on whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on. We're going to be doing weekly podcasts every Monday. We go live on the Podbean app. Podbean is the name of the app, where you can interact with us and you can phone in as well if you want. So make sure you're downloading that app as well. But yeah, I'd really appreciate it. We're going to be doing it every Monday night. We basically just talk about the previous round of fixtures. Basically, majority of it is Manchester United, but we do discuss, the fixtures in general and things like that. So we have some nice ideas coming up that we might get into over the coming weeks as well. And I'm looking forward to bringing more podcasts to you. So make sure you're tuning in for them. If you haven't already done so, please like, share, subscribe, follow. And look, we're going to end it there, guys. Jesus, it's been we're on well over an hour already. But look, I appreciate everyone that's been in, guys. Again, let me see, what day is today? Wednesday. So we're going to be back again on Friday night at 7:30. So make sure you're subscribing. Anyone watching on YouTube or TikTok, hit the bell notification on the homepage. You'll be notified then whenever we go live or any new content goes up. We're back again for our Transfer Talk show on Friday night. Hopefully we'll have some more improvements in relation to getting close to signing any players. And then, of course, we have the Manchester United and Brentford watch along on Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So make sure you're liking, subscribing to all the content, guys. Anyone on TikTok, my link is on my homepage to all our social media accounts. Make sure you're following us on everything. And as well, anyone watching on YouTube, there's a QR code on the screen you can scan, or the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Go and follow us on everything there. Guys, it's been great. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who's commented and left likes and shared and subscribed and all that good stuff. And but yeah, until then, we'll see you Friday night.